more about our organization. We really deal with economic and community development, and over the past couple of years we have been really doing a deep dive on economic resiliency as a result of COVID. So we've done a whole lot of public engagement with more than 1,500 people coming to tables like this. So I'm really excited. The future is ours to build, and we build it together. So this is the Destination Red River project that we launched approximately a year ago. It's a big partnership of many organizations in this entire region. The Red River Regional Council provided some funding through our Federal Economic Development Administration partnership. The City of Cavalier sponsored an application to the Partners in Planning Program through the state of North Dakota. The JDAs from Nelson, Pembina, and Walsh County also provided funding, as did the Grand Forks, Visit Grand Forks and Grand Forks CBD, and the Rendezvous Region. So I appreciate all of those who have come together in that spirit. I'm wondering if partners from these organizations would be willing to stand and be recognized. Don't be shy. I know you're up there. So the Regional Council has been the project manager. We've led a team of about 15 people throughout the region from every county, City of Grand Forks, as well as Manitoba. We've been really blessed with Simon Rush from Emerson Duty Free Shop, who also serves on the Travel Manitoba Board, to be part of our regional team. So could members of the regional team please stand?
There you go.
Thank you. So about a year ago, we went through a solicitation of consultants or facilitators that could help us figure out how to make this region a better place to live, work, and play. Roger will talk about his focus being on how do we attract visitors, how do we attract future residents, as well as how do we attract additional investment in our region. So this regional team engaged Roger Brooks, who is a national leader in destination development with 40 years and 2,200 projects of experience. So we are so blessed with this vast experience. We're so proud to be able to engage a national leader like this. He started his research in this project, research before he came, what do we look like when a newcomer to the region. He also lived here for a month in the Grafton Campground and did a secret shop assessment of all 41 communities in these 4 counties, all our waterways, state parks, and places that people can visit. So he and his wife Jane lived at Listigo Park. Hats off to Bill Dahl and his team at Grafton Parks and Rec, because he has enjoyed every minute of staying in Grafton. After his assessment last fall, many of you may have attended our workshops. We held a county level workshop at each of our 4 counties and also hosted additional conversations with partners the Rendezvous Region, and others. I want to thank Unity Medical Center and First Care Health Center for sponsoring your lunch today and all the hospitality for all the conversations we're having this week. So if you wouldn't mind giving them some love for that. Roger has released a section of the draft plan, this draft plan. This is his suggested action plan based on his assessment of the region. It's coming out in pieces because it is long. In total, I think he's estimating it to be 730 pages long. And we have very much guided step by step on a linear timeline of what we should be undertaking. So if you're interested, 2022 has been posted to the Red River Regional Council website. It's the first 75-ish pages of the plan. So it's our hope that you all will go back to your communities, embrace this plan, and work on implementation, because all of the work that we're doing requires all the local work, some regional work, a lot of marketing and coming together. So I welcome you to be really thinking about how could you implement pieces of this action plan within your own communities. With that, help me welcome Roger Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you. How is everyone? Doing good? You can hear me okay in the back? I always have to ask that because a while ago I was doing a speaking engagement, and after about 15 minutes there was a commotion out in back. And, oh, there we go. And I yelled out really loud, "Can you hear me back there?" And somebody said, "We haven't heard a word you've said for the last 20 minutes. And instantly, 40 people got up from the front of the room and moved to the back. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't have that happen. So it's been a great experience. We've been working, like Don said, we've been working on this for almost a year. You could see we were here last September. We got to experience our first harvest ever. And we didn't even know what a sugar beet was. We thought it was the same thing you buy in the grocery store, little red beets. And so we had a lot of education to learn, and it was actually very fascinating. But just to get going on this, and by the way, that 700-page plan, not 700 pages of reading, because we believe in action plans, not a whole bunch of stuff in the back. But in the back, we did assessments where we secret shopped all 41 communities, and we had suggestions for every community. And so there's a lot in there that actually says, here's what Drayton should do, here's what Hoople should do, here's what Cavalier. We went through every town. And so a lot of it is that, showing those photographs with ideas to make your towns better. So that's a lot of that. But what we're doing is this is why you're doing this. How do you increase the population in these counties when you've been dealing with, by the way, when I talk about these counties, I'm really talking about outside of the city of Grand Forks and maybe Thompson, its bedroom communities that are right around it. So this is really the rest of the rural areas, but including Grafton, so all these counties. So how do you do that again when you've been over decades losing population? Number two is how do you put the Rendezvous region on the map as a desirable place to live, visit, invest in, raise a family? And when I say Rendezvous region, we're going to get into this. The Rendezvous region actually does Cavalier County, Pembina County, and Walsh County, but I'm hoping we can convince them to do County outside of Grand Forks and Nelson County. Actually, us driving around and driving nearly 2,000 miles in your communities, we actually thought Nelson County was one of the best gems you had in the whole northeastern North Dakota. And so when I say Rendezvous region, I'm thinking about like a 5-county area in here, just so you have some context for that. But how do you put it on the map? North Dakota, you know, we actually are from Seattle originally. We've lived in Arizona for the last 10 years. We've worked in all 50 states. We've worked in Bismarck. I mean, I was the keynote speaker for the governor's downtown conference just before COVID hit. And so I spoke for Sarah Ott-Coleman, your tourism director, several times. And so we've worked in all 50 states. And it's been, we just keep going. I don't get why North Dakota is so under the radar. Part of it is because you have one of the lowest tourism budgets in all 50 states. That doesn't help. Usually when North Dakota makes the news, it's because a disaster hit, like floods. And so you're just kind of under the radar. So how do we get you on the map and in a desirable way? And then number three, how do we slow the leakage of locally earned money being spent elsewhere? So if you take all the residents of these 5 counties outside of Grand Forks, I wonder how much of that money they earn is being spent in Grand Forks. You know, the nearest Walmart superstore, Costco, all of those things. That's called leakage. And so this whole thing is about cash. How do you get people to come here, spend money to make up for your leakage when you go there to buy things? And that's really important. So the whole idea is to import more than you export. You know, these days, cities, counties have to act like businesses. We have to bring in revenues so that we can provide better services for our citizens. And so that's what this is all about. And that's what tourism is even all about. You know, that's what we call balance of trade. And what's sad is even I looked at Esri, which is, they do demographic reports. And I looked at it for Grafton. And Grafton is way underserved for retail. And it's way underserved. Even for a town of 6,000, let alone that Grafton could be a service center for, you know, Park River, for the towns around it, even up in Pembina, you know, everywhere. Yet, it's because people in Grafton, 45 minutes, I'm in Grand Forks. And so that's the leakage. That's what we're trying to fix, trying to change. And so with this, the entire focus of this is what else could be done to make this a better place to live, work, or visit. That's the entire focus. That's the bottom line of this whole thing. And one thing that's leading this, and this is good news for you, is for the first time in American history, jobs are going where the talent is or where the talent wants to be. So if you're a desirable place for millennial generation, people in their late 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, but mainly in their 30s, if you want to be the place, if this is where they want to be, the jobs are coming to them. That never happened anywhere, anytime in the U.S. Before this, we always went where the jobs were. If the jobs weren't there, we left. And that's kind of what's happened to you in a lot of ways. But this has changed. As a matter of fact, they surveyed the millennial generation, and this was Forbes, Niche.com, Money Magazine, Bloomberg, a whole bunch of publications got together, and they started asking millennials what were their top priorities. And you know what? Out of top 10, the first 5 had to do with quality of life. Jobs was number 10. So if they want to be in one of your towns, they will say, we want to move there. Now let's figure out how are we going to make a living. See, that never happened before. And so there you go. Tourism is the front door to get your quality of life. Nothing promotes quality of life like tourism. It promotes your trails. There's the gorge right there. It promotes all of the great assets you have, quality of life. And that's what's so great about this. So if you can start showcasing this as a desirable place to live, I love this photo out at Frostfire in the Pemmican Gorge. I mean, if you start showcasing this as a fantastic place to live, then they're going to say, we got to go check that out. That's number one. And then once we get here, can we close the sale? You know, and I got to tell you, during our secret shopping experiences, I mean, we were here in September. Your fall color was astounding. Matter of fact, all the times we've been here, the weather is great. Really? We weren't here 2 weeks ago. We've been here since last Saturday, and it's been fabulous. A little windy. But so what you have to understand about tourism, all these people you see showing up on your screen are coming here first as what? Visitors. This is the place we would want to live. Our client would want to live. Their employees would want to live. And that's what this is about. And with tourism, people come, they spend money and go home. We like that. And then the number one activity of visitors in the world is shopping, dining, and entertainment in a pedestrian-friendly, intimate setting. Outside of Grand Forks, we really didn't find that. You know, we didn't get a chance to go to Langdon. People said, oh, they have a really great little downtown. And so, but this is shopping, dining. It may not be the reason they come. They could come for harvest. They could come for fishing. They could come for camping at Icelandic or Turtle River. And then they're going to say, well, while we're here, are there any little shops we should visit? Any little restaurants we should go? And that is really, really important. And then, by the way, with tourism, that is 80% of the non-lodging tourism spending. Because we don't have to spend any money to go visit your lakes, to go ride your trails. We do it when we're done. So we have to pull people into your little restaurants, your eateries. And by the way, they need to do a far better job letting us know they're even open. Because in the 41 communities, about 99% of the businesses we saw, we weren't sure whether they were still even operating. Now, when you talk to them and say, yeah, but we cater to the locals, and the locals know. Well, wait a second. We would like some visitors to come and discover you. Wouldn't it be nice to have some other sources of revenue? And so this whole thing is an action plan. And that's what we believe in. And there are 68 of them. We're going to do some of them before lunch. Then we're going to break for lunch here. And then I'll do the last of them. And it'll go fairly fast. But I'm going to 2022. The first bunch you're going to see is what should we do this year? I say 2022 is the getting ready year. Because if we start marketing you tomorrow and you can't deliver on the promise, social media is going to crucify you really quick. These days, People, if they don't have a good experience, like for instance, last year when we were here in September, I would say that out of 50 or so historical attractions, there were 2 that were open. Now, that was COVID, so I always want to give people a break for that. But if we start coming out of COVID and we're still not open, and we start promoting you, and they're going, well, every place we went was closed, then we're going to have new problems. So this is the getting ready year, and here we go. Number 1, this is probably the most controversial of all the recommendations in here. We hope that we can get the Rendezvous Region to do 5 counties rather than 3. And I'm going to tell you why. And the 5 counties is really, we've got this little map here. We would love to do that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Is number 1, we think that Grand Forks County, outside of Grand Forks, because they do their own marketing. They have their own hotels. They have their own everything. And they do a fantastic job. And Julie that runs that over there is actually helping you as the Rendezvous Region. But that Highway 2 corridor from Grand Forks heading east is so important. That is so important. If we can pull people off Highway 2 to go up through Nelson County or East Grand Forks County and then up into Pembina and everything, that would really help us with our marketing. You're going to see all this, how it comes together. But if we could get to do these 5 counties marketing-wise, it really gives you Northeast North Dakota. If we take away Nelson, you have a figure 7 there, and we're hoping we don't have to do that. Now, when it comes to like the Red River Regional Council, that's kind of, I think it's set by state charter or something, and so they can't go, well, we can't change our borders because they're already in another region. But that's fine. A lot of this is relying, Rendezvous Region is our big player in this. Rendezvous Region Tourism Council. And so the reason for wanting you to do these 5 counties is exposure to highway commuters and visitors, and we did all the traffic counts. I mean, if we could do 29 in Highway 2, look at the number. I-29, just north of Grand Forks, 8.9 million people are going up there. And if we go clear up to Pembina, about 3 million people a year are on Highway 29 there. We need to get these people, or some of them. If we go at Highway 2, this is Department of Transportation, just west of Grand Forks, 8 million people are going back and forth. Now, a lot of these are duplicates, we know, because they're commuters going back and forth. That's fine, and you'll see why. At Highway 1 out in Lakota, 3.4 million people. And so one thing you're going to see in here is a billboard campaign. As a matter of fact, last Saturday, we actually started in Fargo and photographed every billboard coming all the way up so that we could figure out what billboards can we do to tell people where the Rendezvous Region is and what it has to offer. But man, if we could have both of these, that really gives you a chance to capture people. Otherwise, they're all heading to Devil's Lake. We watch the local news in Fargo, and every time they talk about the weather, it's Northeast North Dakota or Devil's Lake. See what I mean? They're on the map. And so you look at this. When people see something 7 times, they memorize it. So if we can keep going, Rendezvous Region, Rendezvous Region. We did a little survey where we asked people, we're doing some work here with the Rendezvous Region. Are you familiar with them? 99 out of 100 people said no. Didn't know about it. That's locals. So the way that locals, which are not in this room, the frontline employees at a retail store, a restaurant, a grocery store, a gas station, we need to educate them. But this 7 times, they need to see it over and over and over. That's why I still have this memorized. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. How many of you still have that memorized? Yeah. Have they even played that since like the 1980s? But see, when we see enough things enough times, it sticks in our minds. And that is so important. The second reason for this is exposure on regional news channels. Wouldn't it be great on the news? They say, here's the weather in Devil's Lake, and here's the weather in the Rendezvous Region. Aha! And then they'll show it on the map. And all of a sudden, now we're letting people in Fargo, Grand Forks, even in Minnesota, know, where you're at and what you stand for. But so that'd be great. So I sat there and I started looking at all your newscasts in Fargo, and particularly in Fargo, but in Grand Forks, wherever I could find radio, television, I would do weather maps and everything. And for you, they didn't really, they would just say Northeast North Dakota, or they might say, every once in a while, say Pembina, or, but they didn't really, there's no real place identifier even on the news. And so that is going to be really important to this. And then funding is going to be another reason why we want 5 counties instead of 3, and stay tuned for that. And then 4, the more you have to offer collectively, the further people come and the longer they will stay. And the more likely they are to come back. And so, right there, you have a challenge. North Dakota has one of the least square miles or acres of public open recreational land than almost any state in the country. You're near the bottom because you're an agricultural state. And you have some great assets, but I'm not so sure they're significantly better or different than what you're going to get next door in Minnesota or in South Dakota or in Montana around you. See what I mean? So what we have to do is figure out, well, how do we position you so that they will come here? Even though it's not that much better. And by the way, it's great. What you have is great. So I'm not putting you down at all. But I always say you have to be better or different somehow. So that's part of this, and you'll see it coming up. But the more you have to offer collectively, the further we're going to come. So having Stump Lake and the village there, part of this, I think is really important. Having Lakota part of this, I think is really important. And that's why we're hoping you'll do these 5 counties. And you'll be far more successful as one loud voice, 5 counties, versus a whole bunch of separate voices of little towns or individual counties, or even just the 3 counties in the Rendezvous region. And then number 6, Rendezvous Region is your marketing agency. There's 2 organizations that have kind of a regional focus, more than just a county. And then there's going to be your ad agency, and they're going to be charged with product development. So I say, okay, Red River Regional Council, can you help develop the product so when people come here, they go, wow, I want to live here. Wow, I want to come back again. Wow, I want to bring our whole family here. And so that's what we're doing. We even have videos that are going to be accessible to you about tipping the scales between product development and marketing. That's why this is the getting ready year. This is the product development year. And that will keep going. And then, so that's the first one. The second one is we got to reach out to each of the 41 communities that are here and ask them if they want to be part of this. And this will be my only little negative comment, is that when we're doing those assessments, we went county to county to county. We did public meetings. I said, here's what we saw as first-time visitors. I got an email from kind of a nondescript Gmail account, and it said, Mr. Brooks, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. It was very curt. It says, we never asked for your advice, so please don't give it unless we want it. So, it's going to be so important for the Rendezvous, the Red River Regional Council, to go to every one of these communities and say, would you like our help? I mean, we heard from people, we heard from mayors, we heard from people that say, we don't want any tourism here, they're going to take all of our fish. Or we just don't want tourism here. And by the way, with this whole tourism thing, wouldn't it be great if you had 50 people a day in your town? We're not talking about overrunning this region with visitors. But if we could get 3 or 4 families coming up here for a family reunion. Remember, Rendezvous is about getting together. Wouldn't it be great if you did, if you did do some of those things, where you attracted families? So we're not trying to overrun it. But I think it's really important, and these are just some of them. I mean, this map didn't show it all, but 41 communities, and that didn't include Cavalier County. They weren't part of this initial part. But these are just some of them, by county, that we went in and visited. And so we need to go to every single one of them and say, would you like some help? Some of them we need to tear down a lot of buildings. You know, some of them are kind of a start over. We just don't know, but do you want help? Do you want to attract people? Do you want visitors coming if you have a little saloon or a restaurant or a grocery store or anything? And so all of these, we need to go to them. So that's the first thing. Once we figure out what the region is for Rendezvous Region, then number 2 is this. Go out and say, do you want our help? Can we help promote you? And some of them may say, hands off. Now, where this one, I did hear from a mayor that was pretty upset about us even thinking about promoting tourism. And I had several people come up to me and say, well, he doesn't speak for all of us. Well, you know what we think as outsiders? You voted for him. So he does speak for you. See what I mean? And if you're going to try to attract millennials, that's the target we're going to. By the way, let me talk about that just for a second. Millennials are those people in their 30s. Let me talk about millennials for a second. It's the biggest generation in U.S. history. It's the most civically minded generation in U.S. history. Did you know there are more mayors under the age of 35 today in the United States than any time in American history? They're the most educated generation in U.S. history. They're the most diverse education in the United history, most educated. And here's one thing that's different about them. Us boomers, we're having our kids in our 20s. Millennials are having their kids in their late 30s and early 40s. Their fathers are spending twice as much time with their kids than our generation did. And you know what's interesting? This is happening right now across the country. For boomers that are just getting into retirement and everything, they're saying wherever our kids go, we're coming. They are. It's happening everywhere. So if we can get that generation to come, chances are their parents are going to end up coming. And that's good news because you don't have to create jobs for them if they're retired or getting close to it. And so that's why this is so important. Number 3. Work with each participating community to establish a destination art time team, a destination Grafton team, a destination Hoople team, a destination whatever team. And that team is the local team that's going to do things. And it be this. I would say keep it to about 13 people. But we don't know what organizations you have. But we would definitely want to be... we want these people to get together because we've got a list for every community. Here's what you could do to attract more residents or attract some visitors in to help give you more tax base. And so all these people, we have this thing called the Destination Development Association, which you all will have access to. And we have videos there. And we want doers, not directors. These are not people that show up at a meeting. They're actually out doing stuff. So once you put together that little team, then the first order of business, sit down with that group of people and watch these videos. They each last like 45 minutes. And then, because they will be able to go through, we did all of these assessments, all of these. And in all of these, there's lots of suggestions of things they could do. We didn't call them recommendations because we secret shopped them. But these towns have to say, okay, where's our list? Let's get going. We need the team of doers that are going to do that. So that's number 3. Number 4, establish funding sources. Here's the challenge. I would guess, and this is just a guess, that 95% of your residents in the Rendezvous Region don't know about the Rendezvous Region. It's not the fault of the Rendezvous Region. They've had very little money to do anything with. How do you market 3 counties, let alone 5, when you have like a $60,000 budget and you have to beg for that? And so this is not about saying they haven't done a good job. I think they've done a fantastic job. That's what you need. So what I'm telling you today, and took us a year to come to this. We sat there for months figuring out what can we do for no money. Not much. So I thought, okay, if there was one person that could have a budget, and if they could have $300,000 for 3 years, we could make a huge difference. And you're going to see how to spend that. And so that is so important. So we thought, okay, how is that? So then I thought, okay, if we had all these partners, and let's say Cavalier County, the county put in $3,500 a month. That's all, to market the entire county. And what if Pembina County put in $3,500 a month? And what if Walsh County? What if Nelson County? What if Grand Forks County each put in that? Right there, we would raise $210,000. I don't think $3,500 a month is a whole lot to ask for somebody to come and market your county to get new residents, to get new businesses, to get new tax base, investment, new homes. You know, all of those things. And I thought, well, maybe Cavalier, and no, by the way, we have not asked anybody any of this. This is the first time people are seeing this. And so I thought, well, maybe Cavalier would put in $1,000 a month. Maybe Grafton would put in $1,000 a month. Maybe Frostfire, you know, maybe employers, if we get 6 major employers to put in, you know, whether it's Marvin Windows or whoever, put in $1,000 a month, you know, would be $6,000 a month. And then from cities and employers, we'd have this much. And you know what? This is not breaking the bank. This is going to be tough. I will tell you one thing that I shared yesterday. I've worked in 2,200 communities, 40 some years, and since I was 5. Okay, you're not buying that. Okay, I didn't think so. But I made a statement yesterday. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I'm going to say it again. I said, this was the second toughest assignment I have ever undertaken. The toughest was Adak, Alaska, out in the Aleutian Chain. That used to be a Navy base or an Air Force base, and now was closed. We had to go figure out how to fix that. But here's why. It's not because of your weather. It's not because of your waterways. It's not because of your agriculture. It is because the one thing we've run into everywhere we've been here is this lack of let's invest in the future. You don't seem to be like, we're just trying to take care of what we have to do today. And even the governor said, I'm trying everything I can to think about us investing in the future. You're one of the most fiscally conservative states in the country. You're probably the only state that has $1 billion plus budget. And I'm not saying you need to go blow it at the state level, but even at the local level, you're so fiscally conservative. It's like, come on, invest a little in the future. And that's what's made it tough. Is that one thing. It's not you as people. It's just the desire to step out of your comfort zone and do something that will make a difference. You know, because I get fixing roads and streets and funding different things. But somewhere you got to say, we got to take a leap of faith here and invest in our future because we're not doing well. We're losing population. You know, Grand Forks is doing fine. But look at what they're investing. Have you been in their downtown lately? And that's what I mean. So, by the way, we've been working on this for a year. And there, out of 41 communities, there's been one that has reached out to me over and over and said, Roger, what about this? What about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it's become my favorite town in these 4 counties. Way to go, Cavalier. Really. They're just energetic. They're willing to step out and do whatever it takes. That's why I didn't put a whole bunch of list of other cities there. I would love it if all 41 would be $1,000 a month. You know, and we even have videos how you can help sell tourism to your state, to your legislators, to your local city or town councils and boards. I mean, this is really, really important. Number 5, you know, first thing you need to do, okay, we have Rendezvous Region. We need to have a brand style guide. And let me explain what that is. We want to have a look and a feel. 5 counties, if Rendezvous Region will agree to that. We hope to have a look and a feel so that when anybody in the counties, everybody's going to do their own marketing, but we'd have to have a general look and feel to that. You know, this happens to be up in Vermilion, Alberta. But so a brand style guide is, well, what do you use for a logo? What's it look like? Where does the proper use, the non-proper use? If you ever get funding from North Dakota Tourism and you want to use they'll always put, if you want to use their logo, you have to fit within certain parameters. So it'll tell you your colors, the type of photography you're going to use, variations on different themes, what ads might look like. So one of the things we need to do is we need to create a brand style guide so that when we're marketing this region, that we have a similar look and feel so that people know, oh, they must be in the Rendezvous region. Here's another one. This was done up in Vulcan, Alberta. Can you guess what their theme is? Yeah. Matter of fact, Leonard Nimoy, before he passed away, went up there on his own dime and claimed it his Vulcan hometown. And so once again, these are all just samples of a brand style guide. Because we're going to do some marketing, and we need to know what's it look like, what's it feel like, what does our messaging say? And so you're just seeing some pages from these. And by the way, talk about agriculture. They put it in a modern context because they're also about agriculture, not just Star Trek. And so those are the things you do. And then, we even have why you need a brand style guide. There's even a video for that. What's cool about this plan is every time a group gets to a certain recommendation, they say, okay, now let's, and by the way, these are in chronological order. And so you say, okay, here we got this, and we need to do this, and then this will help them. If they hire somebody to do it, there's your guide. So there's videos on almost all of these to help support when you get to these recommendations. Then number 6, see, we're doing this pretty quick, is here we go, trademark a new brand identity. Now, whoop, 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 danger, danger. You ever tried to do a logo by public consent? Yeah, So, here's the thing, is we went through and we decided to redo Rendezvous Region's logo. They don't even know this yet. They're going to go, what the heck? We already have a logo. Well, what we did is we went and sent out the current logos and everything, and we just, we said, and I just did the logo itself. I didn't say what it was or anything. And most responses thought it was an engineering firm. So we thought, well, maybe we should take another look at it. And it's up to the Rendezvous Region whether they want to take it or not. It's totally up to them. But it should look good in full color, one color. If it's reversed, like on a black background, it needs to be easy to read when it's small, like on a business card or anything even smaller than that. And then on a billboard or label, what's it look like? What's it feel like? And with logos, it should fit the brand style guide, everything there. And it should sell a feeling. And once again, I think Rendezvous Region, I have no problem with this logo. And if they say we're just sticking with that one, fine. Because logos make up 2% of a brand. Here's my question. Have you ever gone anywhere because they had a great logo? Yeah. Have you said, oh, I'm going to buy a Ford because I like their logo better than Chevy's logo? Of course not. We always base it on the product. Have you ever said, I'm not going there because I think their logo sucks? We don't. So we thought, well, what could we do that wouldn't be quite so too polished that could sell a feeling? So we thought it would be easy to read when it's big, it's small. Could we do something that shows you as camping? You know what I think your 2 greatest assets are in the Rendezvous Region? Camping is number 1. You do have some outstanding campgrounds. Almost every town has a campground. But you know what makes you really good for camping? Because RV sales are at record highs, and outside of North Dakota, you can't even get a camp space. They're full. But here, you could have a campground for a family reunion and probably have it all to yourself. So we thought, man, we could do this. So marketing to campers and everything, your logo might look like that. If you want to market your lakes, and by the way, we went more with paddling than with fishing, so we're not fishing out the resource that the logos love. Right? And so we thought, well, paddling, you know what? I would never want to go paddling on Devil's Lake with water skiers and jet skis and everything else. But your waterways would be excellent. They're beautiful. They're scenic. They're quiet. They're calm. So whether it's kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding. So you have variations. Yesterday afternoon, we met with your historical societies and associations in these counties. And I think it's your greatest asset. Your historical amenities villages stuff are some of the best in the entire country. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that everywhere. They're fascinating. Here's the challenge. History, people coming here specifically for your history caters to 3%. But if we're coming here for another reason, while we're here, it jumps up to the top of the list. We're already here camping. Let's go over to the museum. Let's go over and learn about this. Let's go over and learn about that. As a matter of fact, in Washington, D.C., 85% of the people that go into a Smithsonian museum, they're in Washington, D.C. for another reason. But while they're there, the must-do is going into one of the Smithsonians, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them. They're museums. But your historical attractions are outstanding. Wouldn't it be great you do this for fishing? I know. We're not trying to crowd your lakes. And maybe there is a lake that's really good for fishing, and whether it's ice fishing or whether it's summer fishing. But you could do this. You have some great golf courses. Some of them are highest rated in the whole half of the United States. And then, even for biking. So what's nice about this, depending on the niche you're going to, you could use slightly different alterations. So we wanted to do something that would kind of sell a feeling. There's one that's more generic in nature to use as a general one. But we kept thinking, we wanted to do something that sells a feeling, and Rendezvous with the compass and everything really identifies what you are. So what's it look like in black and white? What's it look like reverse? What's it look like if it's just totally reverse and white? Does it work? So when you start marketing the region, wouldn't it be great if you had ads like that? By the way, you know what that says down there? Safe, serene, relaxed, and uncrowded, away from all the distractions and noise. Welcome to the beautiful Rendezvous Region, home to stunning parks and campgrounds. For the complete RV and camping guide, visit us. I missed that word visit there. Visit us at rendezvousregion.com. Sell the feeling. Get families together again. I mean, if anybody could capitalize on post-COVID, it would be the Rendezvous Region. But we even have videos on this, how to use these logos, slogans, things like that. So there's number 6. This is number 7 is find an office. Because out of that $300,000, we want the Rendezvous Region to hire 3 full-time year-round people. You can't do this on a volunteer and be really successful, because we're not going to go blow a bunch of money on advertising other than like billboards. We want to spend it on social media. We want to spend it on public relations. We want the newscast in Fargo to say the weather in the Rendezvous Region is this or that. We want to get you on the map, and also to Winnipeg. So I kept thinking, I don't know where they'd be. I'd love them to be in the same places where the regional council is. So it doesn't mean I have to share offices, but somehow we'd like these two to be connected. And so we're not too sure about that. But somewhere we need to find a home. Because number 8 is getting 3 employees. Look, that's almost 2/3 of your total budget is on people. We're investing in people, not a bunch of advertising. Because you can build a brand on social media way faster and way less expensive than you can by running a bunch of television ads. And so we want to get people there that can make this happen. And so, we need all 3 of them would have strong marketing, public relations, social media, video production expertise. We're not looking for executive directors. We're looking for marketers. People that worked in ad agencies, public relations advertising. The first one would be an executive director. They would do media buys like billboards, working with subcontractors like whoever's doing your brand style guide or helping do videos. They'll work with your funding sources. That's their toughest job, is always looking for money. Excellent copywriter, develop co-op marketing pieces. You're going to see some. Budget management. How are we doing with all this? Number 2 on this list would be a content. Content is everything these days. So it's video pre-production. We need to shoot a video out on Stump Lake. We don't know what we're promoting yet, but we need to figure out what it is. And then editing, post-production, acquiring and leveraging content, photography, all of these things. And then the third person would be public relations. PRSA is the Public Relations Society of America. I would get somebody, and by the way, public relations, social media, it's all public relations. It's relations with the public. Managing conversations, planting new stories, watching what's being said about you. These are your three people. This is a good ad agency right here. And so with that, you know, this whole pre-production, knowing what you're going to sell, what you're going to shoot, the location, the sun, the shade, the angles. That's why you need expertise. Your subject matter. You know, photo releases. I mean, a script. What are we trying to get across? And I'm going to give you a shot list. What do we need to get photography of? Then you produce it, you know, and then shooting each of the segments. And by the way, video is number one. Video is by far number one. And then capturing B-roll. That means extra footage that we could use later on just to put in pieces. Like when we were here, we saw a lot of beautiful fall color. Well, we need to have some of those so that if we're trying to showcase all four seasons, we already have some of that footage in stock, so to speak. And then post-production is editing, compiling the story, adding audio, all of those things. And that is your credits, all of that. Okay, so now we've hired these three people. We're still this year. So the challenge is, can we get that money fast enough to get this thing going? And will somebody somewhere invest in your future? And so that's what we're just begging you to do. The first thing they will do, we got a brand style guide, we know what it's going to look like. The very first piece we want you to create would be an RV and camping guide. This would be a rack brochure, you know, the size of like one of these. That would open up and it would have, and here's what should be in it. RV parks and campgrounds, co-working spaces. It's huge right now, the work from anywhere movement. Cities are paying people $15,000 if you'll just live there for 2 years and work remotely. I don't think you have to do that. I think you have good quality of life that you could do it. But if we come here and we're working, do you have that common workspace in your downtown? Where can I fill propane tanks? Now you have to remember, we've been here twice now in an RV out at Listico Park. I probably shouldn't say that because there'll be people gunning for me now that don't agree with a lot of these. But propane tank, where do I go fill a propane tank? The first time we were here, I drove all the way down to, Farm Supply? Did I get that right? Tractor Supply. And then I realized, oh, there is a place in Grafton right on the corner of 81 and whatever the main drag is there. And then after that, I was able to get there, but I didn't know. And so we want to know. Hardware stores. I'm telling you, anybody that owns an RV knows how hard. Every time we go by an Ace Hardware, I go, do we need to stop? Right? I mean, that's the way it is. Grocery stores. One thing you have to understand about RVers, they shop like you do. They're not like hotel tourists. They shop like you do. I mean, look at all these RV. This is where Lakota comes in. They're one of the few places that actually had RV supply, RV store in the region outside of Grand Forks. Mobile RV repair services. I mean, a post office, medical clinics, urgent care, pet supplies. 70% of RVers and campers have pets. You know, and then fishing supplies and bait. Amazon locker locations. I mean, top hiking, biking trails. Top paddling spots. Top historical sites and museums. I mean, dog parks. You know, I mean, and by the way, each of these people would have a panel in there. So if this one here isn't one, but you might have, okay, here's our campgrounds. And what's cool is most of you, even in your little towns, have 5, 6, 7, 10 campsites. I don't know if they're just for harvest, but you know, I know Minto's got a really great campground. I mean, of course, Grafton has one. We saw them all over the place, let alone the state parks. But each one would pay for their panel. And then, wouldn't it be great if we could get those out there? So that brings us to number 10. And by the way, on these, right there, we used some stock photography temporarily because we didn't have a photo library for you. And so, now I'm going to have to go through these all again here. And so let me just get down that list really quickly. But once we do this guide, this brochure, and by the way, for you that are saying, oh, brochures are so passé, Let me tell you something about brochures and printed materials. According to Butler University in 2018, so this is pre-COVID, but not that much different than it is now, they did a survey of visitors to find out before they go somewhere, brochures and printed materials are only used 32% of the time. Once they arrive, brochures jump to number one, even over the internet. 81% once we arrive. Because we can be in a car with a brochure where you don't have cell access. We can be in a restaurant with a brochure rather than being on our phones. And so that's where these come from. So now what we have to do is get these out there. And so I would go right like Amazon or display.com. See those little brochure holders? Each one of those holds 1, 2, 3, 4 brochures. Well, right now, we want to take those into retail. Everybody that's on the list, if you're selling propane, we could give you one of these. And right now, we're just going to put that brochure in all 4 spaces. But eventually, there's going to be more brochures. But every one of those places you saw on the list should have one of these on their countertop. And when somebody checks in, Chambers of Commerce, state, local, this is where they should be. Every place with a listing in that guide. And at RV parks. When we check in at a state park or campground, you said, by the way, here's our RV and camping guide. It'll tell you where to buy groceries, where to buy all of these things. And we could break this into like areas. So if we're staying up in Pembina, we are not marketing something that's in Lakota or vice versa. See what I mean? So you say, well, here's what you'll find in each county to help you no matter where you're staying. So we're not creating a whole bunch of these guides. And then libraries. I mean, city hall, county buildings, fairgrounds, sports facilities, public essentials like civic centers, places like this. Museums and historical sites, state park offices. We need to get them out there. And so once we arrive, man, if we would have got one of these the very first time we came here last year, it could have saved us a gazillion miles and a lot of headaches. And then number 11, work with local campgrounds, repair service, vendors, signage. In almost all your campgrounds, we didn't see, there was nothing there. There was no contact, there was no name, there was no nothing. We had a hard time. We had a hard time figuring out what campgrounds are open, which ones are closed, when they're open, who you would contact, all of these things. There's no signage. A few towns had signage, but it might say, welcome to our park. Like Drayton said, welcome to such and such campground. But I still didn't know, is there a camp host? Are you open year round? Most of them probably closed because of freezing temperatures. We can't provide water, all those things. But we need signage. So this year we need these campgrounds to be ready so that when we find you, we know who to contact or if we can stay there. Or say we don't have water in the winter, but heck, we can still provide you with power. So there's all kinds of things you can do. With this. But we saw campgrounds everywhere we went. No information. No clue where you would get any information. And so that's what we're talking about there. So that's the flip side of this. If we can go get RVers to come here and campers, then if they find a campground, give us some information. Help us out. And then number 12 is work with them on getting listed. Now, I heard of TripAdvisor. Raise your hand if you've heard of TripAdvisor. Okay, probably half of you or most of you. TripAdvisor is where you'll find hotels, restaurants. They actually now include campgrounds. But how many of you have ever heard of something called Campendium? Raise your hands. Nobody. Oh, 1 or 2. See? But Campendium is like TripAdvisor for campgrounds. Homdan Recreation, no photographs, 2 reviews. 5 stars, by the way. There it is, Hom Dam, but there's no photographs. Fordville Dam, no photographs, no reviews, no anything. Matachek Dam, no reviews, there's nothing there. Listicow, look at this. You're going to like this. Absolutely the best. What a great campground, according to Roger Brooks. Yeah. But look, it's their only review. And I got to tell you right now, there's like 20 campsites full of people. But these campgrounds, and so Everybody over there at Listico, they've been saying, well, what can we do? What can we do? So they've been working on getting listed. But it's free. Put some photographs up. It's free. It might take you half a day to go take some photographs of your sites. Calm down. Look at no photos, no nothing. At least, you know what? 90% of your campgrounds aren't on any list. Yeah, but Facebook is not where campers go to find places to camp. See? And that's the problem. We're going to these sites, and we're going to a bunch of other sites. You know, but this is, let's see, this is Hamdam. So there is a review there. Look, stayed at Hamdam Campground in August of 2020. The campground was very nice, as we were the caretakers. I hope, yes. If they would have said it's really lousy and we're the caretakers, yeah, wouldn't have. And however, right after we arrived, the grounds were being mowed on a commercial mower, which threw a rock into our pickup window, shattering it. I went, oh, crap. And then it says, today I received a phone call from the campsite's manager saying the county would cover the cost of the shattered window. Thank you. We would definitely stay here again. That's awesome. It shows that the campground cares. But if you don't even list your campgrounds for free, how do you expect to get people to come here? I mean, you know, this is all stays. That's another one. Free maps, lists. And most of you are not listed on there. You know, find a park. You know, I did North Dakota. You know, and said, look at this. I did just all of North Dakota. Let's see, all of North Dakota, 3 out of just in your region. And so we can keep going. I mean, there's the Dirt, D-Y-R-T. That's another one. There's all kinds of these. But, you know, let's see, there's Grand Forks, you know, we got Hamdam is there, Langdon City Park is there, you know, but not much else. And so just get listed. This is why this is the getting ready year. And this is why we need people to go out and work with the campgrounds. If they're city-owned, private-owned, doesn't matter. We want to work with you to get some signs up. We want to get you to get listed on these so the campers say, we should check out. I've reached out to bloggers, RV bloggers. Man, them and fishermen are on YouTube like nobody else. And they're looking for places that are undiscovered, and you're one of those. You know, we even did a whole video on marketing to RVers. So there's your first brochure. You can do this in the next few months. But once you do the brochure, we need to have those signs in place. We need to have, you know, them listed. And then, you know, one of the next things we need, because we're going to create some brochures for when people arrive. And one of the things we need is distribution besides those little plastic things. I always say that visitor information should be working 24/7. And so I love this. This is in North Platte, Nebraska. They actually had a local craftsperson make that box right there for $300. It has the Nebraska Visitor's Guide, and it has a regional visitor's guide, and then it has their very best of North Platte brochure in it. Yours might be a little bit different. But what I would do is, these are all the guides we want to have. We want to have the camping guide. We want to have a golf guide. We want to have a history trail. We want to have a waterway guide or a lake guide, fishing and hunting guide, a very best Rendezvous Region. And then you want a place for a state map. We want a local or community brochure. So if they have their own brochure, it certainly should be in there. And then maybe the North Dakota State Visitor's Guide. So your brochure map might look something like this. This will be written information and then places where people can get information. We're working up in the, talk about rural, we're working up in the northern half of New Hampshire, and they actually got federal grants to create these. Notice it has a solar panel on it. It's battery operated, so it's even lit at night. And if we walk up and look inside, see all the little brochure holders right there? You see them right there. I mean, how cool is that? So we can mount some on buildings and some might be freestanding. But this is a way, if people are here camping, for heaven forbid, help them spend some money. Right? Because most of your towns don't have hotels. Grafton does, you know, but not many have hotels outside of Grand Forks. And so this is a great way to get information. And we even have videos on that. So number 14, doing okay so far? Okay, 14. Find and contract with a face of tourism. We need somebody on camera. And we need that person to be young, energetic, full of life. And so I want to show you, just last week, we were assessing Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. And one of the towns we were in, I said was Waupun. Until I saw Craig, who runs the tourism there, saying it's Waupun. Like, remember those commercials where the Rolls Royce pulled up and said, could you please pass the Grey Poupon? So it's Waupun. That's how I remember it. But I went there, and I went to the city of Waupun's website, and this was on their homepage.
Hey folks, it's Craig from the Fond du Lac at the Rendezvous Region Visitors Bureau. We are here today as part of our series exploring our neighboring communities. Today we're in Waupun. Did you know Waupun is known as the City of Salt? Let's go check more out. Did you know that Waupun is just a couple miles away from one of the major entry points to Hurricane Marsh, often referred to as the Everglades of the North? Did you know that Waupun is an awesome baseball complex hosting regional tournaments of all levels? Did you know that Waupun and the beautiful Rock River is home to the iconic End of the Trail sculpture, a fitting tribute to the Native American Indians? Did you know that Waupun is home to Goose End of the Trail Candy Shop, a fourth-generation business serving quality confections, handmade and homemade? Waupun, just another great reason to visit Fond du Lac at the Lake Winnebago. Come on in.
So, and I picked on Craig. I said, Craig, we want somebody younger than you. He's a millennial. He's a Gen Xer. But we want somebody that has a good voice, is good on camera, is enthusiastic, and attractive. This is the face of the Rendezvous Region. Remember, we're trying to attract millennials. The best way to attract millennials is have millennials trying to sell millennials, not us boomers trying to sell millennials. And so energetic, fun, enthusiastic, cheerful, always smiling, great on camera, even when unscripted. That would be great. So let's see, what do I have here? And so this is just, here's another example.
Let me show you around one of my favorite spots here in the Catskill Mountains. Bethel Woods, Center for the Arts, at the site of the legendary 1969 Woodstock Festival. This marks the location on Max Yazzer's farm where 400,000 people met in love and peace for the 1969 Woodstock Festival. Just across the field, you can see where the stage once stood. The place where Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, the Grateful Dead all made history. And if you close your eyes, you can almost hear it. What happened on this spot changed the course of American history. But more importantly, it reflects what young people at that time wanted from the world. A hope for something better that we still strive for today. But for us to get the full story, we should head to the museum. The museum at Bethel Woods is truly an immersive experience.
Well, I think the first thing people have to do is do the quick jog through the exhibit. So you can see the whole exhibit quickly, see what things catch your eye, and then spend a lot of time on those places that really interest you. The museum tells a great story, and then you go out on the field, and you're experiencing it firsthand.
Bethel Woods Center for the Arts is a must-visit destination for friends and family of all ages. It draws top acts in rock, country, and pop during the summer to its outdoor amphitheater and intimate indoor performance space year-round. It's also the perfect place for culinary festivals and events. That's why I'm here at Craft, a beer, spirits, and food festival. Let's check out the craft brews and grab a bite. Yes, there's live music too. I love the vibe here. Today I learned a few things, took in some live music, drank a few brews, met a lot of great people along the way. I'm glad to give you a taste, but now you gotta come and see for yourself.
So that's what I mean. And by the way, when he did this, It was just him and one person. You can shoot videos like this on an iPhone. You don't have to go out and make it a big, huge, expensive production. And that's where you can see that video. It's 2 minutes and 25 seconds long, which is about perfect. You know, it's great. He's a great on-camera host, did you think? I mean, he had a lot of enthusiasm. He looked like fun. He made it look like a great experience. Lots of details he provided, you know, which is really good. Does it make you want to go there? I mean, that's the point. In that, there were 62 little clips. So we want one of those employees. They're going to know how to use Final Cut Pro or iMovie or any of those, Camtasia, any of those productions, so they can create these kind of little videos like that. You know, and he shot that in like 2 days. But it might be somebody like this.
Made it to the top of the cinder cone, and as the name implies, this is a cinder cone volcano. And the trees here have really found a way to be able to not only survive, but thrive in this harsh environment. Zion seemingly rises out of nothing to create one of the most amazing national treasures in America. I'm sitting at the entranceway to Kilimanjaro National Park. This is going to be a challenge unlike any I've experienced before. We're going to be hiking the Chame route, which takes 7 days, 6 nights of camping, to reach one of the tallest mountains in the world. Made it into the roof of Africa, and words can't be described how challenging that was.
And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can contract. She's a person you could contract with. But we think there's probably somebody here. It might be that person on that staff. It might be somebody else, you know. But we want somebody along that line that can come in and do this. And we even have videos on how to do this without, you want the good personality, but shooting the video does not have to be expensive or difficult. You want a good example, Julie from Grand Forks does interviews all the time and does a really good job. She's really good. Yeah, Julie, you want to come up here? She's got her hands full. So anyway, identify the Rendezvous Region brand. So now we kind of look what a logo would look like. Hopefully you like that one. By the way, we tested a ton of different logos, sent them out to people, and that's the one they said, oh, we like that one. And so, you know, we thought, now, how do we market this place? And you saw where I did this little sample ad, and I thought, well, if rendezvous means getting together, is there a better, how could we outcompete everybody else? And maybe it's because we're about reunions. We're about families getting together in a place where you don't have a bunch of casinos or a bunch of urban noise or a lot of traffic. They can be out here in a pristine, safe environment. I mean, that's what I put there. This is almost the same as the other one. Safe, serene, relaxing, and crowded, away from all the distractions and noise. Welcome to the beautiful Rendezvous Region, home to stunning parks and campgrounds and dozens of small but awesome lakes for epic and memorable catches of just about every size. For the complete fishing and hunting guide, visit us at rendezvousregion.com, where you can get, 3 generations of family coming together. So I thought, well, if we can't outcompete them on assets, can we outcompete places that are urban areas just on the ability to get away, to go out? We're working in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, along the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is a town of 1,500. Their best years in history for tourism were last year and the year before last during COVID. Because people from Charlotte said that we want to get out of here and we're going to head up there. There was less social distancing in Blowing Rock than there was in Charlotte. They had so many people there. But now people want to get together. Just north of Grand Forks and west of the Red River. For the family fun list, just head to rendezvousregion.com. This is the kind of messaging we'd love to get out there. And once again, we use stock photography, but we could easily do this with come together right here, right now. And how many of you are thinking Beatles songs, come together right now over me? But finally, come together again, come together everyone, come together as one. Can you imagine doing team building out here, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you could run things like this, just 45 minutes north of Grand Forks and a world away from freeways and urban noise. Let's see what I have here. distraction is a place so quiet, peaceful, and safe that there may be no other place anywhere that you can really come together. And then we went from there. So these are ways to help market the region where you can just get away and have a place all to yourself. Heck, when we were out last September, it was in the 70s every day, like it always is, right? Yeah, okay. And we would go out to all these lakes. And I think the only lake we ever even saw another craft of any kind was Stump Lake. I mean, every place, it was just serene. We just thought, man, maybe this is the way you market these. And so that's what we're trying to do. This is kind of your brand direction. We'd like to get families out here, family reunions out here, team building events. You know, you're never going to be a big convention destination. But boy, people that are camping, you know, they're looking for things to do, and they love group camping. You don't know how often I've been to places where they like circle the wagons of RVs. You know what I mean? And they have common picnic areas and stuff. So number 16, we need photography. And so we might contract for a photographer doing video and doing still photography. Photography is everything. When I was here last September, I photographed all your towns. People have this perception that there's no trees in northeastern North Dakota. Yet every town had tree-lined streets. The fall color was stunning. We need to get photography year-round. You know, and so that's going to be really, really important. And there's videos on even how to do that. I mean, this one photo that Rendezvous Region has on their website for Frostfire is enough to sell why you would mountain bike there. So photography like these, people are going to say, wow. All of a sudden, they're going to see you for something other than just agriculture. But even photographs like this that exude a feeling and make you say, wow, that looks really nice. Where is that? And we tell them. You know, having people on camera is critical. No more scenery shots. I want to see people. And when we see people smiling, we tend to smile too. Even if we're looking at a magazine by ourselves. You want to show people. This evokes emotion. Always show people enjoying the activities. And that is so critical to this. I mean, there's no reason why you can't be a great winter destination. You know, you know, I mean, this is what we want to see. You have lakes that are perfect for this. Perfect. Without all the motorboats there. So we need to get photography. We need to build a photo library. It needs to be year-round. Now, I put in there $20,000 a year with some co-op. What you could do is if you put a photograph on your website or brochure and you put the name of the photographer down here, and you make it a link, so where we click on it, you give the photographer a marketing page on your website. A lot of times they'll give it to you for free because you're marketing the public good. Or they'll give it to you for a reduced price because you're going to help promote that photographer other work that they do. Make sense? So, number 17, contract for marketing services. Graphic design, copywriting, public relation, media buys. Now, you may have such a talented team that they may not need that. They may just say, well, we've got the PR, we've got the videography, we've got most of these elements. All we need is the graphic design one. But whatever it is, and by the way, you don't pay them, you pay them by piece. So if they say, okay, we want you to design the RV brochure, then great. Then they say, okay, here's how much we're going to charge to design that for you. So they will work on what we call piecework. The way it works, this is how important. What is it we're trying to sell is rule number 1. Number 2 is what's it look like and feel like, the photography. And then number 3, writing is way more important than graphic design. Too often we hire graphic designers and we need all this other stuff first. Public relations, getting it out there is really important in magazines, online, in blogs, vlogs, you name it. And then media buys when needed. And then graphic design is number 6. So don't just hire a graphic design firm. Hire people that have all of these or some of these that you need to fill the gaps of what your staff, 3 staff people have. I got to tell you one example. This was in Site Selection magazine. Goes all over the United States. Site selectors that go and bring in big businesses, hospitals, Amazon, you name it. They hire site selectors. And in one publication, there was 190 communities being promoted all over the United States and in Canada. And we're talking about 190 ads. But there was one ad that got more response than the other 189 combined. It was that one. Discover the difference between earning a living and having a life, Pure Michigan. That's the same kind of campaign you could do here. They didn't put, we have land, we have workforce. It wasn't about work, it was about quality of life. Because you think you had it rough during the Great Recession. Michigan had it way worse. And you know what Michigan did? All the other states cut their tourism budget. They cut their film office. They cut everything. You know what Michigan did? They doubled their tourism budget. They created Pure Michigan. It's on every license plate. It's on every billboard. And every state organization uses it. I mean, and it's worked. It was the fastest state to recovery during the Great Recession. It was the hardest hit. Always showed the activity in the foreground and the location in the background. I mean, photographs like this, if you offer this is in the winter. Experience front and center, location in the background. I mean, all of your marketing should look like this. This is Lake of the Woods, Minnesota. Up in Kenora, Ontario, on the northern part of that. 14,000 lakes, call one your own. But if you notice with all of these, you have one photograph that stands out. You'll always use one photograph. And then the experience, like this, just relaxing on a dock. You know, call one of these places your own. Then you close the sale there, and then you say, by the way, there you'll find it in Kenora. By the way, you'll find it in the Rendezvous Region. This is the way marketing works. One signature photo. What's the header? Grab life by the handlebars. They're about biking, obviously. And then the body text down there at the bottom. And then the logo. By the way, you'll find it in Devon. And then log in now. And then their tagline, enjoy the ride. That's how this works. So now, number 18. All right? Here we go. Reach out to RV YouTube channels and vlogs for 2023. So you might be doing this fall, like in November. Because now we worked with the RV sites. They've got some. We've got them listed on all those RV sites. We've got an RV brochure. Now let's reach out to RVers and have them sell other RVers on coming here. And so you can do that. I mean, this is one of the biggest channels. This is Keep Your Daydream. It's Mark and Tricia Leach. They actually live in Flagstaff, Arizona. They travel all over the country. Some of their videos are about RVs, but some are about where they're located. And when they come into an area, they will say, I love this town. This is so great. And you don't pay them. They don't do this. They're not sponsored. They do this because they love it. And look at this. They have, what do we got here? We got 468,000 subscribers. If we could get them to come into North Dakota, which is, by the way, is on their list. They haven't been to North Dakota. And by the way, a lot of RVers, they go from South Dakota, you know, Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse and all of that. They'll go up into Wyoming to Devil's Tower. They will come over to Theodore Roosevelt National Park and they head right back out of the state. This is a good way to have them come across your state, whether it's 94 or however they're getting here, and then explore these areas. I think they would love it. You know, and so these people, they're looking for places that nobody else has been or that aren't out there. There's all these channels. I mean, this is RV Love. This is another one. I mean, and RVers go for this because they need to know how to take care of their RV. And there's, by the way, the average age of a person buying an RV, 38. Not just boomers. 38. 2 million people live in them full time. We were here for harvest last September. The whole campground was full, and probably 90% of them came from states to work your harvest, and then they leave. And I remember talking to them last September, and they go, we don't know what there is to do around here. There's that historic village, but it's always closed. And this was during COVID, of course. And so they don't know. They're going, we're here, but we don't know. Nobody's provided us any information anywhere. You know, the campground host will give them if you have a question. But all of these, less junk, more journey, changing lanes. By the way, a ton of these are families. You know, millennials can buy a house for $40,000, an RV. They could take it wherever they want. And you know what's really cool now? Elon Musk and SpaceX have Starlink. We have Starlink. I could be anywhere in any of your towns with zero access and still get high-speed internet access. It just opened up to mobile 2 weeks ago. That is the biggest boon in American history for rural America. These work from anywhere people. They'll come here because you got campsites. They're beautiful. You have nice towns. It's safe. It's secure. It's not overly expensive. Not everybody wants to stay in a crowded KOA. No offense to KOA. We stay there plenty. But that's what they're looking for. But all these Fade and Bound, a couple of young people right there, live in our vision. There are tons of them. If you reach out to them and say, we would love to see you experience the Rendezvous Region, and you say, and by the way, if we can help in any way, let us know. You don't have to pay them. This whole never stop adventuring, getaway couple, I mean, there's tons of them. You know, I mean, RV Life, look, the top 10 RV blogs. If you Google that, you can go down there and say, well, here's the top 10. We should reach out to each of those. And so that's how important this is. Remember, we're not spending money on advertising. We're spending money on people, and through public relations, we're going to do this. That's why we need a full-time staff. And then number 20, begin loading YouTube channel with those little videos that we have that on person. Those videos might be doing campgrounds at first. And they might be doing stand-up paddleboarding, or they might be doing, you know, fishing, catch and release at first. We don't know. But once again, you know, we need to start having, and by the way, what's really important, we want Rendezvous Region to create like 30 or 40 videos and upload one every week. Because consistency is really important. You know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years. These are all 3 years ago. Now, granted, we entered COVID. So this is, once again, the region hasn't had a lot of budget. We have COVID, and they've been waiting for me for the last year. And so this is, but they've got the background. And by the way, no offense, how many of you are going to say, I want to live there when you see that top photo? Now, we know you're about agriculture, and there's no problem. Once we come here, we're not coming here because of agriculture unless it's harvest. But once we're here, we want to learn about it. But it's probably not going to be the primary reason we come here, except for the people that are already coming here during that time of year. So those are things about doing this. We want to really populate that. We want camping and RV. You could have channel playlists. One would be camping and RV playlist, an awesome state parks playlist, get-togethers playlists. You know, this is a great place for family reunions, retreats, fantastic paddling, wind sports. You got them like, when I was down at Stump Lake, it was ultra windy. It was like whitecaps. And I don't know, maybe they're windier than I like. Maybe that's a great place for Hobie cats. See what I mean? Or kiteboarding. Who knows? Fishing, hunting. You know, amazing history here. So these are all little videos you could do. Harvest. We thought harvest was fascinating. It was like an orchestra, all these trucks out in the field and how they get weighed and how they go in. And we saw all these big fans in these parking lots. We had no clue what those were for. We'd come back a week later and it'd be a mountain of sugar beets. And for you, you might go, it's a nightmare for us. The roads are all muddy. The trucks are taking up all the traffic, right? But for us, we're going, this is really cool. And so, but you can do little short videos on that. I mean, I think 70% of America's sugar comes from Northeast North Dakota. Some huge number like that. I think it's fascinating. But those are all these fun little videos you could do about this. You know, for instance, we had no idea what a sugar beet even was. But on almost every corner out there, you'll see a pile of them when the truck goes around the corner and they spill off, right? So what do? We go out and pick one up. It wasn't red, it was white. And it was like this big. And we didn't know. We didn't even know, can you actually eat these? We were all over YouTube, and we actually found that you can, and people were doing recipes and everything. But there was none of those videos came from you. They're from Montana and other places. But those are those cool little things that just did you know little videos I think would be really cool. And then number 20, work with a Frostfire board. Now, Frostfire. When we talk about this is a big project. And we kept thinking, and by the way, the first 10 years of my career, that's what I did was resort development. Resort, like I worked in Copper Mountains, and most of them were ski resorts and everything. And I'm not saying this has to be a major resort destination, but that was my whole background. And I kept thinking, you have a ski hill here, and if you go to any ski resort, they're going to tell you that we hate skiing, but it's how we fill our place in the winter months. Because it takes the most amount of equipment, the most amount of staffing. It's the most high risk depending on winter, snow load, whether we get rain. It's so volatile. So I kept going, what could you do at Frostfire? And so I kept going, man, because it could be this region's best asset by far. Right now, I think your best asset is Icelandic State Park. Is Mike here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and who's here from Turtle River? Is anybody? Yeah, okay. We have this competition going. But that out there, it's so amazing. So I thought, you know what I would do? I wouldn't really even focus on it. Now, and by the way, the Red River Regional Council got multi-million-dollar grant to upgrade equipment out there, snow equipment, the lifts are outdated. They can't really even be insured, snowmaking. But what else could you add out there? We were working in West Yellowstone, Montana, population about 2,000. And granted, it's next to Yellowstone National Park, but this is a private development right almost in their downtown, and it is so cool. I thought if you had an adventure park like this with a zip line or anything like this, it could be really, really cool. And it would pull people from everywhere. Now, remember we talked to Rendezvous get-togethers. Can you imagine a place where you could get the North Dakota Automobile Dealers Association do an annual retreat and team building? United Way does team building. And they don't want to do it in the big urban areas. They want to go do it in these kinds of places. Granted, we need lodging other than RV parks, but what comes first is these kinds of activities. This place, Yellowstone, by the way, is closed 6 months of the year. Yet they get people coming here during that time, even in the winter. And so, take a look. I think. There we go. Five stories of stuff. You'll believe schools will come here. They'll come here because you can't find it anywhere. And they haven't had that many fatalities. Everybody, including the workers, are strapped in. So I kept thinking, and a private sector could build that, you know, and so this is why we're saying you need a master plan. You know, take a look at this. I would love, from the golf course there, through there, can you imagine doing zip lines? That place is no bigger than Frostfire. That's in Brainerd. So, and here's, if you want to change the image of Northeast North Dakota, and North Dakota for that matter, this is the attraction I would put in place that would get people coming in from multiple states and would change this whole perception that North Dakota doesn't have anything outside of Western North Dakota. I mean, more people know about Medora, a town of 150 people, than know most about any other city in the state. But take a look at this. I think it's coming. That's called a Zorb. And what's interesting about that, it was invented in New Zealand. If you did that, you'd be having people here from Minneapolis. You'd have people here from everywhere. You'd have people here from Billings. You'd have people here from Rapid City. You'd have people from Sioux City. You'd have people from everywhere coming here for Zorb. And you know what? It's not even that expensive. You probably saw they built this channel. They kind of created that with graders and stuff that goes all the way down. And by the way, they even do it in the winter. They'll actually put hot water inside and people are still in their bathing suits spinning around. Every once in a while, somebody says, I don't want any water in there. And they say, yeah, but what's going to happen? You're going to be like in a dryer. And they said, and we end up washing it out when you get done because you know what you did in there. Yeah. Both ends. No. So anyway, I kept thinking, what could you do there that would put you on a map that people would come from everywhere to do? And like this is in West Yellowstone. And it has hotels and everything because of West Yellowstone. But it has an RV park there that charges about $140 a night. And they're 100% full for 6 months of the year. 100%. If you wanted to get a space in there for this summer, sorry, you might start booking it for 2023. Because of aerial ventures, you know, and because of those things they have. So it's not just Yellowstone. But I kept going, could we put an RV park somewhere near there? As a matter of fact, I sat there and I thought, first of all, the people in Frostfire, what do you want to be? Do you want to grow it? Do you want to just be a little local ski hill? You know, do you want to have to where, you know, because right now, if we live in Northeast North Dakota, you know what? We're going to head to Detroit Lakes, Detroit Mountain. I mean, why? Why do we have to send people to Minnesota to go do this stuff? Or there is a zip line over in Medora, somewhere over there. I mean, but why can't you do that here? There's private sectors that are biting to do this. So decide, what do you want to be 10 years from now? I mean, visit the golf course, state parks, Walhalla, neighboring landowners. You know, as a matter of fact, I even said, I wouldn't even call it Frostfire. We had no clue what Frostfire was. We had to Google it to figure out what it was. I think Frostfire is a great name for a brewery. I think it's a great name for a restaurant. I think Frostfire Theater at the Gorge. But if it was the Pembina Gorge, and you had a Pembina Gorge golf course rather than Walhalla golf course, and you had Pembina Gorge State Recreation Area, and you had the Pembina Gorge Ski and All-Terrain Park. See what I mean? It makes it one destination rather than Frostfire's this piece, and this is a different name over here, and this is a different name over here, and we're all connected. So those are those kinds of things that it could be amazing. Visit other destinations like Ellicottville, New York, which is a town of 1,100. I think it would be great if people in Walhalla went over there. Now, people did say, but have you been to Detroit Mountain, Detroit Lakes? Well, Detroit Lakes has like 14 hotels. It's already a huge destination. I don't know that Walhalla wants to be like Detroit Lakes. And from what I've heard, probably not. You don't need to. But, you know, I just think it would make you worth an overnight stay. And by the way, overnight visitors spend 3 times more than day visitors. 3 times. And visit with development interests. Gauge the feasibility of it. You know, contract for a plan. I think it has tremendous potential. Even so much that I would say go to state parks. Say state parks is go ahead and we want to be the concessionaire for Pembina Gorge State Recreation Area. We're not taking it from the state, but we'll help manage it. Because right now it doesn't have staffing. It doesn't really have anything there except for a display board with maps stuff. And then it's got a couple restrooms. There's nothing really there. There's no staffing. And so, I think, Mike, you have to take care of it, right? Yeah, and so he adds that on top of Icelandic. And so anyway, we thought, man, could we bring these together? I think doing theater up there is fantastic. By the way, for everybody, Sound of Music is coming this summer. And I think that's going to be great there. So number 21, we'll do a few more, and right at noon we're going to break and we're going to have lunch. And you guys can talk. And then towards the end of lunch, I'll ask you if you have any questions. So if you do, save those up. Identify hashtags for each community, each waterway. And so I would take signs like this. And look, I already did this one. There you go. Love in Lakota. Yeah. But here's the thing. When people come and visit you, they don't know what your hashtag is on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any of these social medias. So to let them know so you can say, share your experience. But we don't know. And I just made that up for Lakota. It's up to them. They could put whatever they want. I just made that one up just for the sake of this slide. But I think that every town should, every waterway, like here's Whitman Dam. Wouldn't it be great if you just did this? Share your experience. Hashtag Lake Whitman ND. You know, and by the way, people don't come to dams. They come to lakes. And so if you had Fordville Dam, you know, that's fine. But to market it, I would call it Lake Fordville Lake. Because a lake sounds like a destination. A dam sounds like an earthen, you know, it sounds like a location or something. And so by doing this around would be great. Working with each community so that we know how and where to share your experience. So we start building some public relations. And then number 22, develop social media channels for each hashtag. So Lake Whitman would have theirs, you know, Lakota would have theirs. Everybody would have their own Instagram page where people start sharing their experience, and it's going to start building content for you. And I think it'll be fantastic. Right now, the Rendezvous Region, it's really just a bunch of ads, and we need to get it back to photography and really start promoting these activities. And that's what this is all about. And so, it's about going that whole next level. And then you can start doing this with groups, Mountain Man Regional, all these different groups that are out there, you can start inviting them in. So anyway, brand recognition, that was it for 2022. That was quite a list for this year. And you can't do it unless you have people there to do it. And it's not fair to go say, Rendezvous Region, why don't you do that whole list on your $60,000 budget and no staffing? It's not fair. Somebody needs, the counties here need to invest in the future. Invest in the future. $3,500 a month is just not that much to invest in growing your population, growing your tax base. So, number 23. Now, we want to add those hashtags out there, and each town or each lake might do their own. But I think it would be great, McVille right here, and then do that. Share your experience, McVille, North Dakota. Get them out there. I think that is so important. Cavalier, we love Cavalier, whatever it is. Do a neat little hashtag, get it out there so we see it. We're going to start building some momentum for this area. And number 24, begin developing top 3, top 5 must-do lists. This is one of the hardest ones to do. But if you don't do, here's our top 3 stand-up paddleboarding lakes. Here's our top 3 of this or that. If you don't do it, they're going to go to TripAdvisor, they're going to go to Google reviews, they're going to find it from somebody else. Because just saying we have all these lakes, we have all these trails, we have all these historic attractions, that's just lists. We don't want lists, we want help. And so if I go to Google and top 10 best things to do near Grafton, North Dakota, look, even Google, I don't even have to go anywhere. There's their list. But they're getting it from you guys. So there's the second one, top 10 best things to do near Grafton, North Dakota. 5 fun ways to spend the day in Grafton. Things to do in Grafton. You can keep going down the list. And where does the web pick these up? From you, if you do your top 3, top 5, top 7. Look, Frosty, here's Yelp. Best things to do near Grafton. Frosty Fox, Strand Theater, Paulie's Lounge Casino, which I don't even know if I ever found that. Centennial Center. Things to do in Grafton and TripAdvisor. No found. This is about populating things. I did go back and figure it out. Ronald Reagan Minuteman Missile State Historic Site. That's not in Grafton, is it? See what I mean? Because they don't know. You haven't populated any of these things. North Dakota Museum of Art. That's in Grand Forks. Boy, Julie is hogging up Grafton space. I'm just kidding. But, that's the importance of populating all these sites. I just typed in top things to do near Grafton, fun things to do with kids in Grafton, best things to do. By the way, these are all from other people. You need to do this. And it is so important to do this, to start populating these things. And, you don't have to get into it's always the you picked them and you didn't pick me, and I think I'm just as good as them. So then we're back to, we have something for everyone. Have you ever gone anywhere that has something for everyone? We don't. And so that's the challenge. And so that's what this is about, is starting to promote those very best selves. Be helpful. 5 fun ways to spend the day in Grafton. Hit the rink. Visit Listicow Park. Visit a Listicow Park. I guess there's multiples of them. And I'm sure Parks over there is going, uh-oh. Enjoy dinner and a show, at the Strand Theater, local Grafton restaurants. And this was by, a third-party website. And so you can control your own story by doing these. Otherwise, we're going to get it from somebody else. 4 seasons, many reasons to visit the Rendezvous Region. And that's all about getting this stuff out there. So what did I type on this one here? What did I put? Best walking trails near Grand Forks. And so there you go. And Google's doing that. And Google's getting it from Google reviews. That's how they're getting those. So you need to start developing those. Then work with your historic sites and museums on common operating hours and days. And this is what we met with them yesterday. We didn't come up with any solutions because they need to go back home and say, how can we get people here? We want to do a history trail. And we're not going to do a history trail if we go out there and we promote 10 museums and 9 of them are closed because we're there on a Wednesday. So we need to work with them to make sure what days will you be open so that we can tell people. And because we saw some great attractions, like right up the road in Grafton. I mean, we saw all of these places with no information. Some of these, this will never be open. But yesterday we talked about Talking Trails. It's an app you can get, and you have a QR code there, and we click on the QR code, and then you can listen to it on your phone and start telling you the story of all these little schoolhouses. So there are some ways to do this. And so we need to work with your museum and historical attractions. And it's tough because they're largely volunteer-based. And so it makes it really tough. But what can we do to help? And can we get consistent days that you're open so that we can mark you and say, hey, every Friday and Saturday, almost all of these are going to be open. You know, and hopefully it'll be more than just 2 days a week. Number 26. One of the next things we want to do is create a brochure. And this one here is your Rendezvous Region History Trail brochure. And I want to show you an example. And that example is this. It is this brochure right here I'm holding in my hands. There were 11, let's see, let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 museums. 11 museums. And how many of you would drive an hour to see the house Bing Crosby was born in? One. You're such a mean bunch. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't either. But what if there was 11 museums and you could connect to them going down this history trail? What if you did that? By the way, each one of these museums paid $200 for a page. They were spending $1,000 trying to create their own brochure, and they had no way to distribute it. I mean, so they each did this, and these are these. And this, by the way, it's in just 2 colors. It's brown and black. It's just 2 colors on white paper. But they created this brochure. They all got together and did this brochure, and all of a sudden, I'll show you the results here in a minute. They're coming up. But it's really cool what they did. And on the back is this little map that shows you how to take the trail. And look at the result. They tripled the number of visitors while cutting their collective marketing costs by 2/3 just by doing this. That is good stuff. So, we really want the second brochure in this would be the Rendezvous Region History Trail. Promote them. And each one would have a page. You know, and I think it would be awesome. But we need to have consistent days and hours. And then 27 is distribute that out there. And remember, we go back to these racks. Well, now we don't have to fill them up with camping. We can fill 2 with camping and 2 with this history trail. Eventually, we'll have one in every one of those. And then the next up, this is the beginning of next year, golf guide. You have some amazing golf courses. They're beautiful. They're under-promoted. And so we'd add the third one, Rendezvous Region Golf Guide. With photos from here, by the way. We use stock photos because we just didn't really have a whole lot to go on. Remember, we want people and photos. Even this one here would have been great if we had some people looking up at the church. But, so now we would have 3. Because I think your golfing here is a good reason for people to come. And this is what I want you to do with your golf courses. I want you to create a program like Ticket to Paradise. And I want to show you one we were involved with. We were working in Carson City, Nevada, which is kind of, that's Lake Tahoe over there. Reno is up north about half an hour. But Carson City, down here, Minden, Gardnerville, there were like 9 golf courses. They hated each other. They competed for memberships. They competed for green fees. But one of the guys that ran one of the golf courses said, this is ridiculous. I was there speaking. He said, this is ridiculous. Rather than us fighting each other, we should be working together. And so this one guy got out and he said, I'll tell you what. We want to create a brand for our 9 golf courses So he talked all the other ones to each pitching in $1,000. So now they had $9,000, or maybe it was maybe he offered them, it was $1,250 or something. Anyway, they came up with $10,000. And so they created this golf in the high C area, and they came up with a fantastic name for it, the Divine Nine. Isn't that cool? And you know what? They started putting it out there, the Divine Nine. And you know what? Each golf course said, we could do something a little different. So there's incentive to play us and my neighbor, my competitor. And I'll show you that. They started creating this. They did this, Ticket to Paradise. You pay $395 and you can play all 9 within a year. You could play 3 in a couple of days, but you know what it did? People kept coming back. They kept coming back. Whether they were in RVs, whether they stayed in hotels, they kept coming back to play more courses. How cool is that? They had the whole year to do it. I mean, the Ticket to Paradise. So you could do something similar to this. And so one golf course says, we're going to put in these really wicked sand traps. You know, another one says, well, 5-star restaurant. So each golf course said, what could we do that's just slightly different? One of them did, some wild greens, really high, rolling greens. Another one actually did a floating green where you actually went out there in a little boat, and then that was where you started your hole. Gee, why is it skipping me? And so anyway, they did this, and all of a sudden, people used to think that Carson City was brown and dusty. Just by the photography, they went, this looks amazing. And all of a sudden, they're getting travelgolf.com, the Divine Nine Tour, a true day of golf in Reno. I mean, here we go. Golf courses band together to promote Northern Nevada tourism. It changed everything. Even the local hotels got together and created a golf guide. And the hotels paid for this. Here they are. And then, of course, they promoted Carson City, which is the home of Kit Carson, the hub of the Sierra. There's the Divine Nine. Then they talk about all of those. They talk about Kit Carson. And while you're there, even if it's for golf, here's all these other things that you could do. I mean, it changed everything. Look at that. #1 golf destination created by spending $10,000. You could do that here. Your golf course, you have some outstanding golf courses. And number 30, I'll do this one and we'll take a break. Begin working with the communities on implementing suggestions made during the assessment. This is what we did last September. So we were here and I did workshops, like 2.5-hour workshops all over these 4 counties. I wish we could have done Cavalier County, but we at least got these 4 counties. And when we did these, and in the back of this plan, so this is, where's this one? Oh, there we go. So we did this one. We had suggestions. There's number 1, number 2. I don't expect you to read all. 3, 4, 5, 6. And so this is where the communities will now go through that. All these photographs that we did are in the back of this plan. And you can say, well, here's ours for Drayton. Here's ours for Cavalier. Here's ours for Grafton. For every community, we made lists. We called them suggestions because remember, we secret shopped you. We didn't come first. Well, I don't believe in telling you what you should do without consulting with you. So we made ideas. And it's up to the communities to start doing these. Because if you remember back to Craig Molitor, the guy that did that Waupun, did you notice he ended up in a candy shop? Did you notice the guy from Bethel Woods, New York, where Woodstock is? He ended up at a brew house. You need to promote your private businesses. Because if we're at Larimore Dam, can we bring him into the town of Larimore to eat at, is that where Station House is? That's where Station House is, a great little restaurant dedicated to firefighters. See what I mean? We're trying to get people into these restaurants and buildings. And so it's them to get ready. So that we're going to send people, you know what? You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. That's where the communities come in. And I still have 2 minutes. I'm going to do one more. Is that all right? Because then we're going to break for lunch. Number 31, create a regional development authority. This one is really important. A redevelopment authority is an agency that has a pot of money that can go get rid of buy dilapidated buildings, commercial, residential, get rid of the old properties, and then put them out for homesteading or resale. A lot of your 41 communities are ones that we drove in, and it was like, whoa, lock the doors. And it wasn't that they're unsafe. They were just in rough shape. And you got to do something about that. And this is Johnstown. We just came from Johnstown, Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago. And Johnstown, just so you know, is in southern, central. They're kind of like you. They're not in western, eastern, It's like you. You're not quite in the west, but you're the Midwest. But the other side of the state says they're in the west. So with Johnstown, had a population of 65,000. This is where Bethlehem Steel started. Matter of fact, when Abraham Lincoln was president and they started building the railway across the country, they made the rail. But what happened is in 1889, on Memorial Day weekend, in the 1850s, these private people built this huge dam. A big lake, like 2 miles long, a mile wide, 70 feet deep. They built this big dam, and on Memorial Day weekend, 1889, they got heavy rains and the dam broke. There was so much water running down the river, it picked up locomotives like they were sticks. It slammed into Johnstown and killed 2,200 people in 10 minutes. Then in 1936, they had another flood. Army Corps engineer came in and made it flood-proof. In 1976, they had another flood because it wasn't flood-proof. 65,000. The population today is 18,500. So what do? They have a redevelopment authority that will go in and get rid of the blighted projects and convert them. I mean, here we go. They did the Iron to Arts corridor, the blight elimination. They purchased a building downtown and put lots of agencies into it. I mean, they've done the Center for Metal Arts. They've done. I mean, it is amazing what they've done. They talk about their mission. And I have already told Don in the Red River Regional Council, you need to go to Johnstown, and I want you to meet with Melissa Komar, who directs it, what she's done. It's pretty amazing. But I want to show you this little video, and lunch is being set out now, so it's going to be perfect timing. Take a look at this. Intuit did this, and they could do this for you.
So close your eyes and tell me what you see when you think of Johnstown.
Strength, resiliency, and hope. I remember the days of my father working in the steel mills.
The Bethlehem Steel plant in Johnstown shut its doors.
Times got tougher for those working families.
It was more than a steel plant, wasn't it? It was a way of life shutting down.
That history is what built this city. Dad, do you remember these properties?
Oh, yeah. This was the oldest building in Montgomery County at one time.
With the closing of the mills, I spent many years looking across the river and seeing the darkness in those properties. Now we control that situation. Between the redevelopment authority and the city of Johnstown, I've been able to pair businesses with true fits to those properties for the next generation. Properties that once sat stagnant for many years now have life. Working with Intuit has been beyond an amazing experience. Through the opportunities that have been created, it makes people realize that there is hope here. I refer to the group of people that we work with as the believers. It's this generation that were raised by those miners and mill workers that will be the game changers here. Human connections help us prosper in many ways, and I love the fact that a company such as Intuit believes in Johnstown. They make us see big picture. They provide so much hope and enthusiasm that everybody wants to be a believer. I do what I do every day because I love this city, and with all of the work that has gone into it and the collaboration efforts, everyone just embracing the change has just created a very positive end result here. That shows what true prosperity can bring.
Pretty cool, huh? And with that, how about if we take a break? All right, so here's what we'll do. Lunch is, I think they not quite set out. I'm not sure. But what we do is we'll take a break. Lunch will be set out, and then we'll just go over there. It's a buffet style. You'll sit down, get something to eat. Restrooms are right outside the door here. And then we'll let you eat for like half an hour. And then at the last part of lunch, I'm going to let you ask me any questions. And then we'll do the second half of these. So we made it right toward the middle, and the second half actually will go quicker than the first half. So with that, any other comments, Stacy? You think we're good? We're good. Let's take a break. We'll see you shortly. Thank you.